Time now for your forewarned weather with Chief Meteorologist Alana Brophy.
Boy, and our hearts can go out to them because we know exactly what that's like here.
Yes. Looks bad and feels bad when you're breathing it, all of it.
Looks apocalyptic. My goodness,
Yes.
You never see Central Park or the skyline interrupted by wildfire smoke. You're right, Glenn. We've seen that here, but the winds have kept that out of our area. Okay, got to start with this video because this is the Provo River near Woodland, and you can just see how quickly the water is running. But we don't have any flood alerts in effect. They were all canceled today, and that's after a 40-day stretch. We're breathing a little easier when it comes to flooding, but that doesn't mean that our rivers are safe. Just this video near Woodland tells the story. We have to be extremely careful. We're just not seeing flooding occurring in those areas that we were talking about. So that's good news there, but be careful along the rivers. Speaking of rivers, there's the Colorado with some storms overhead, 77 right now in Moab, the eastern side of the state and the northern portion of the state, funneling in moisture, which really allows for storms to pop up with afternoon heating. Satellite radar shows us that southerly flow. It's more southeasterly today, which is why eastern Utah and the northern Wasatch Front has seen that. In the last few hours, we've watched as those storms have developed, and they've moved into central Utah and the north, as well as over south in Uinta County. So active skies out there, not as widespread as we've seen. So this area of low pressure, desert southwest, is now lifting, and that's what's going to continue to happen as we get into tomorrow. Eventually, it's going to get out of the way, and that's why we get slightly drier conditions with just a slight chance of storms for the next couple of days. But then we roll into the weekend, and late Saturday, another low comes dropping in. That's going to push inland in the desert southwest, and we get a repeat pattern. I know, these afternoon thunderstorms keeping us on the cooler side, pleasant as we look at those temperatures. And you notice those southerly winds as we head into Sunday will usher in more moisture, more cloud cover, and storm potential. 81 in Salt Lake, 60s in Logan, where we have wet weather overhead, 70s in Provo, 70s on the eastern side of the state, 81 in Green River, 85 in St. George, running slightly above average, but cooler than where we were yesterday. As we get through the next couple of hours, you're going to notice those temperatures along the Wasatch Front dropping into the 70s, partly cloudy skies where you're not getting storms. Pretty pleasant out there, and then the cloud cover will roll in. The storms are bringing winds, and that will be the case tomorrow with a slight chance in northern Utah. That extends down toward the I-70 corridor and on the eastern side of the state. And that's as that low kind of moves through the region, we keep the potential of those storms. You see it there on the Futurecast. Okay, let's time our storms. By tonight, ABC4 News at 10, cloud cover. Maybe an isolated storm over in the west desert towards I-80, and then we quiet for the overnight. Stop me if you've heard this, but afternoon potential for tomorrow. It's a slight chance, really favoring the higher terrain. Here we are by 2 p.m. and the west desert. By 8 p.m., Cache Valley over on the west end of the Great Salt Lake and some isolated activity. Provo and the area south of it all the way down to Gunnison could see a storm. As we head into Friday, fairly quiet. The potential still there. You can't rule it out. Slight chance exists for Friday and into Saturday and then changes. Flash flood potential, it eases in many locations, but it brings it back at Zion and Bryce with the possibility of that wet weather kind of streaming in to the higher terrain with those storms developing. It could roll into some valleys. We'll see what happens. 70s and 80s, 83 tomorrow in Salt Lake, 70s over in the Basin in Castle Country, 73 in Cedar City, upper 80s in St. George. As we zoom in, find your city, and you're going to notice those mountain valleys in the 70s. Again, higher terrain, looking at the chance of a storm. Central Utah, not so bad. You get a mix of 70s, gorgeous temperatures, and it's because of this monsoon-like pattern keeping us fairly humid and pretty moist, and also cloud covers out there. There's St. George 7-day, slight chance into the weekend and next week. Here's the Wasatch Front. Slight chance through Saturday, better chance Sunday, and then we start next week with much of the same. So we're just re-racking it. At this point, I stopped showing up a week ago, folks. We're just re-racking it. I mean, I feel like same pattern.
Yeah.